Hey guys, welcome to Cray Outdoors. In today's video, I'm going to be going over all of my ice fishing tackle, all of my jigs, lures, and things like that that I use on the ice. And make sure you stay tuned for the end of the video because I'm going to be giving away one of my biggest ice fishing secrets. And you're not going to want to miss that. So I'll show you what I've done here. And I apologize if the audio is weird because I'm using both cameras in this video, as you can see. And it's possible to edit everything into one sound bite, but that turns a 2-hour video editing project into a 20-hour video editing project, so I'm not going to do that. But anyway, what I've done here, right here I have all of the lures from my open water fishing tackle box. I went through and took out all of the stuff from my open water fishing that I plan to use ice fishing, which is, believe it or not, the majority of my ice fishing lures. And so we're gonna go over each of these. And one thing that I'm doing different this year, I'm using one of my tackle trays to keep all of my ice fishing lures and jigs in this year. In the past, I put everything in this top tray of my ice fishing tackle box. But this tackle box, it's a really cheap one. I think it came free with a lawn chair that my dad got or something like that, and he gave me the tackle box. But it's nice because it's plastic, it's light, it pulls on the sled, it's compact, and you know, plastic is actually important when you're ice fishing. If it was a metal tackle box, it'd be freezing to the ice and it'd just be a pain. Instead, this year, instead of putting all of my lures and jigs and just fitting everything in here, you can see this is pretty packed as it is just with my terminal tackle. So I'm just going to save this tackle box for terminal tackle this year and put all of my lures and jigs in here, and that way everything should be nice and organized. And just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go over everything that's in here. It's mainly just hooks, leaders, bobbers, things like that. The only things that maybe are interesting, this little thing here, I forget what exactly it's called. I want to say it's called a plumb bob, but I might be wrong. Or no, that's a surveying tool. I forget what this thing's called, but you hook it to your the end of your tip up, and it sinks to the bottom really fast, and that way you can quickly and easily get a judgment on the depth of where you plan to set your tip up. And this thing here is kind of cool too. It's a jig cleaner. If you have any cheap jigs that don't have the holes on them cleaned out yet, I'm sure one of these will be, yeah, see, like this one here. Whoop. You're probably not even able to see this on camera because it's so small, but got a little thing on there. You stick the jig on there. It's a quick, easy way to clean the paint off of the hole on your jigs. Saves a lot of time. Saves a lot of time, and it's very, very easy. So I don't know. That's really the only interesting thing in this tackle box. Everything else is bobbers and split shot and pliers and stuff. So on to the fun stuff. This is the stuff that was in my ice fishing tackle box. These are the things that I don't use for open water, or at least, you know, don't have in with my open water fishing stuff. These are just jigs with, well, we'll talk about that later. These here are jigs with these. I keep my jigs that I don't need bait for right here. That little tail's got a lot of action on it, and the panfish will eat these suckers without even needing to put any bait on there. I forget what each of these jigs are called. These I know are tungsten jigs. This one, I think that's just a regular lead jig. It's pretty light. I think that came with a pack of those cheap jigs you get from Walmart. Here I've got my jigging Rapalas. Huge fan of jigging Rapalas. If you're an ice fisherman and you don't own a jigging Rapala, I would definitely suggest getting one. They are a lot of fun. Just like any Rapala, the fish tend to slam them when they hit them, and they actually do work to draw the fish in. Even if that's not what the fish are hitting that day, they attract a lot of attention. They go all over the place and have a lot of movement under the hole. They're fun, and they're effective in different ways. So you can see I've got them in a variety of sizes. This one, like the bigger ones for like pike and walleye, and then the smaller, this one's like a trout-sized one, and then you got the really tiny ones for panfish. Anyway, those are jigging Rapalas, and they get stuck on everything, so make sure you keep them somewhere where those treble hooks aren't gonna... Those treble hooks on them things are so small, they just hook absolutely everything. And just be careful with your gloves too. Once you get them in your gloves, you pretty much break the treble hooks on them in order to get them off. And that's why I have backups of those. That's the only lure. The good thing about ice fishing lures is you seldom
ever lose them. Typically, you know, one jig will last you the whole season. Jigging Rapalas are the only exception to that, just because they get stuck on stuff super easily. I don't even know what this stuff is. I want to say it's stuff that I've found or was given. I don't even know what this thing is, but I don't think I've ever used it. But Heddon's they're the ones that like make spooks. That's a pretty name brand. Maybe I'll give that a try this year. I don't even know what that's used for. It looks like some kind of big spoon blade bait type thing. It might be effective for like trout and pike and stuff. Here I keep all the little jigs that I don't use very often. It's just a pile of jigs. I separate my go-tos, the ones that I really like and use all the time, in this little package here. That way, or in this little compartment here. That way I don't need to go digging for them. Every year for Christmas, I seem to get one of those big packages of jigs, those cheap packages of jigs that you get from Walmart. And there's like 1 or 2 jigs in those packages that I like, and then the rest just sort of get in the way. But I keep them. It's good to have lots of backups. You never know. And then in this little middle compartment here, I have my really, really tiny jigs for like smelt and stuff. That way I don't need to, if I'm ever want to quickly fish for smelt, I don't need to dig through here to try and find my teeny tiny micro jigs. So these are just little micro jigs. This one has got a tiny little micro hook, even though it's big and fat. It's kind of nice that it's big and fat, because it'll sink quicker than those other little tiny ones. But yeah, all those I really actually do enjoy ice fishing for smelt. So little tiny micro jigs are good to have. And sometimes I'll even downsize for perch and stuff. Sometimes you need to downsize that small. I'll show you. I mean, this thing here is a finger prick. That thing's smaller than my fingertip. That thing is just tiny. You can see the majority of my ice fishing lures are my open water fishing lures. I guess we'll start at the we'll start with the big stuff, and then, because I got to organize the stuff into here. So we'll start down here with the big stuff. You can see we've got lipless crankbaits. Now, I've never actually used lipless crankbaits under the ice before, but they're becoming more and more popular. Everybody on the internet seems to be using lipless crankbaits. Kind of like the jigging Rapala, they say, jigging lipless crankbaits under the ice. It helps to draw the fish in. That rattle in them, they attract a lot of, they create a lot of attention. They move a lot. So we're going to give them a try this year. These obviously are brand new. These are Uruku shads. These are my favorite lipless crankbait. Ordering Christmas gifts for people on Amazon, and you know, once you get an order over $50, it's free shipping with their holiday sale they got going on. So of course I ended up buying stuff for myself, and with that were these lipless crankbaits that I bought for, you know, the ice season. And I'm also, lipless crankbaits work great in the spring during ice off. So I wanted to have my favorite lipless crankbait now before ice on and ready to go on ice off. So these look pretty similar. This one's a gold shiner pattern. This one's a yellow perch pattern. Check out these Uruku shads. Are really, really nice. They're not the cheapest lipless crankbait out there. They're not the most expensive either, though. They come with great, I think they're VMC or Mustad hooks, or no, Gamakatsu hooks they come with, which are like the best. Check that sucker out. Nice and shiny. Gorgeous. These things have got a ton of rattle in them. They look so freaking real. I bet you these things will be killer on the Allegheny Reservoir. We're going to find out. So we'll stick these big ones into this pocket here. I don't know if I want to throw them both in there. I guess we'll try throwing them both in there, and if we don't have room, we can always put it somewhere different. Gonna edit out some of this probably. This one is a KVD something, I forget what it's called. Doesn't have as much rattle. This one has hardly any rattle at all, but this one is one that I found this year. They say the ones with less rattle work good in pressured waters. So, you know, the Allegheny Reservoir, somewhere unpressured, I'll probably be using these Uruku shads with the loud rattle. And somewhere more pressured, like Chautauqua Lake, I might be using these suckers here. This one I actually probably mainly use, pike are really turned on by the color red, so I'll probably only use this one jigging, targeting pike. But this one's perfect walleye size. That looks like something a walleye would really eat too. And this is, like I said, this is one that I found somewhere, so yeah, we'll see how they work. Little lipless crankbaits. These are just those cream lures. They're like 25 cents at Walmart on sale. So I got like a ton of these actually. Bought them while they're nice and cheap. They work for trout and panfish and stuff. We'll throw them in that compartment there. Actually, you know what? We'll keep all the lipless crankbaits together. Throw them right there. Boom. All right. Next on the list, oh, Mighty Mites. These things are awesome. They're really an ice fishing lure, actually. This is the one thing that's like really more of an ice fishing lure than it is more of an open water fishing lure, even though I use it actually during the open water more so than ice fishing. Trout absolutely love these things. Open water fishing for trout, they work great. Maybe I should actually keep one just for... I wonder how these things would work under a float for steelhead. But anyway, they're called Mighty Mites. They glow in the dark. They attract a lot of attention. Panfish love them. They work great under the ice or off the ice. Or they work great under the ice or in the open water. So definitely worth having. I guess I'll throw those in there because you can see I've got a lot to go yet. Bucktail jigs. I'm probably just going to stick these in here for now. Just because bucktail jigs get kind of... putting bucktail jigs in a Plano box sort of messes up the fur around them. So I like keeping them in the package that they come with. This is a package that I can reuse, or that I can put the jigs back in when I'm done. Bucktail jigs are a great multi-species lure. Open water, under the ice, vertical jigging. Just a great way to catch fish. You can tip them with the minnow. Similar to the bucktail jig, we got this little Lindy grub. Green, as you can probably tell by my collection of jigs, I tend to, for whatever reason, I tend to do best with green under the ice.
Green is definitely my favorite color when I'm ice fishing. It's just the color that I have the most confidence in. I guess I don't really have a scientific explanation for it.
We'll throw that in there with that stuff. Okay, and with that you can see all that is left is spoons. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you're a multi-species angler, you gotta get into spoon fishing. Spoons are, they're just so versatile. They're great ice fishing lures. They're great open water fishing lures, and they catch absolutely anything and everything. There's nothing you can't catch on a spoon. And there's such a variety of spoons out there. Each individual spoon has so much versatility, and there's just such a variety of things that you can do with each spoon individually. And then when you consider the different styles and colors and shapes of spoons, it's really crazy just how much you can do with a good spoon collection, fishing wise. So start off, we got the Swedish Pimples, one of the most classic ice fishing spoons of all time. Most people actually don't use these in the open water. I do. They work great for trout and things. Where do we want to put our Swedish Pimples? We'll throw them... I don't know where I want to put them. We'll put them there. Boom. I guess we'll put our Swedish Pimples with the Phoebes. Phoebes are one of my favorite open water spoons. I don't use them as much under the ice, but they work great under the ice as well, especially if you tip them with the minnow, or you can tip them with any sort of live bait. Phoebes are just phenomenal spoons. Again, very versatile. Fish love to eat them on the fall, and so I mean they're just a great jigging spoon. Any spoon's great for jigging though. Next on the list, we got these crocodiles. Crocodiles once again are a great jigging spoon. These ones are a little bit big for ice fishing, but I love the colors. Look at the colors on this one. Well, I'll hold it up to this camera. The colors on that thing is just amazing. If I ever go, if we get safe ice on Lake Erie this year, but this thing will be awesome for steelhead and brown trout. That looks just like the bait in Lake Erie. Anyway, and then my favorite colored crocodile spoon is actually Fire Tiger, as you can see. We'll throw all these in one compartment. These here are my pike spoons. Rarely do I actually jig for pike. Most of the time I'm jigging for panfish when I'm ice fishing. I set tip-ups for pike with live bait on them, big minnows, or even sometimes the perch and stuff that I catch. But every once in a great while, I will jig for pike, and these here are the lures to jig for pike with. Mainly I jig for pike on days that are actually very slow, tough days. When I see that there's panfish under the ice, I'm marking panfish on the flasher, but can't get them to bite. Sometimes I'll go ahead and put one of these jigging spoons on and see if I can get a pike to bite. The other time I jig for pike is when the fishing is extremely good. When it's hectic, flags are flying, and I just don't have time to deal with panfish. And I do have a little bit of time to jig. Instead of dealing with panfish and getting my hands cold, I'll jig something big and giant like this, jigging for pike. And you know, whenever you hook a pike jigging, you don't feel how cold your hands are. You're so excited. So they're great open water lures for pike. These are actually the crocodile spoon and the daredevil spoon are probably, two of my 3 favorite open water lures for pike, second only to the X-Wrap. So, yeah, great pike spoons above and below the ice. Throw those in that compartment. It's getting a little bit cluttered, but we still got plenty of room here to fit the rest. Oh, one of my favorite lures of all time, if not my favorite lure. Oh, my favorite lure of all time is probably the original floating Rapala. Right behind that, though, is the Castmaster. So much you can do with the Castmaster. Very common, very classic ice fishing spoon, along with the Swedish pimple. These things have a great action jigging, vertically jigging, great action under the ice. They actually, the way they're shaped, I mean, they'll shoot out underneath the ice and go way away from, where it is that your hole is, and they just attract so much attention. So many different ways to, so many different actions you can get with them by jigging. You can bring them up to the top of the ice and letting them float down, and jigging them fast is different from jigging them slow. They're just so much you can do with the Castmaster spoon. Tip them with a minnow or anything else. They're just deadly for all species. And again, open water fishing, as the name implies, Castmaster, you can cast these things extremely far. Have a nice slim profile. So panfish and little fish love them. And yeah, love Castmaster spoons. You can see we got quite the variety here. Mainly sticking to smaller ones, targeting panfish with these guys. Castmaster spoons work for walleye, trout, one of the best trout lures, and everything else. So we'll throw all of our Castmaster spoons into one compartment there. Little Cleo spoons, another pretty classic open water spoon, but they do work great under the ice as well. These chrome colored ones work great for trout. This one here works good for pike and big panfish, bass. The fire tiger color, and I think we got a classic silver one there as well. So yeah, now if you have these lures in your open water fishing tackle box, go ahead and throw them in your ice fishing tackle box. I don't use the little Cleos nearly as often as I do the Castmaster and these smaller profile spoons, but every once in a while I do throw them on, especially if I'm targeting big trout or something. I mean, one of the best ways to catch, if you're specifically going for big trout, jigging a little Cleo might be the way to go. Well, on that note, we also have the Tasmanian Devil spoon, another great jigging spoon. These spoons are kind of unique because they're plastic. I tried getting colors to sort of mimic the natural forage. Well, I guess that doesn't mimic the natural forage, but trout are really turned on by the color pink. So I got a pink one in there for trout. This one's more of a natural color, kind of like a perch-like color. And chartreuse is another great color for multi-species fishing and jigging. Yeah, these things work great. Once again, as an open water lure is what they're mainly known for, but they can certainly catch fish under the ice as well. Walleye, trout, one of the best trout lures. Everything will take. Once again, everything will take a Tasmanian Devil spoon. Another phenomenal multi-species lure that works great under the ice. Extremely versatile. Whoop, we forgot about a woolly bugger. Got a woolly bugger in here that we apparently forgot about. Boy, where do we want to put you? We'll put the woolly bugger in with these jigs here. Woolly buggers are another great lure to use. These things, believe it or not, fish will just eat them doing nothing. You can just leave them lie in the water, and perch and stuff will come by and eat them. They're so furry, they pulsate and stuff in the water. Things think that they're alive. You can also jig them vertically under the water, and like I said, I like to just put one of those little put them underneath one of these little teeny tiny bobbers and tip them with a wax worm or something. And great way to catch big perch while you're ice fishing. Anyway, we're gonna throw this woolly bugger. Throw them in there for now. Oh, little tiny daredevil spoon. Little mini me daredevil. Let's see, where do we want to put this? We'll throw this. We'll make one compartment here for these guys. The little daredevil. And these here, I've never used under the ice before, but being that they're a spoon, and they made an extremely good impression on me this year, open water fishing, I caught so many trout on these Thunderbolt spoons. Really fell in love with them. They work great in current, actually, but they have a pretty good jigging action. I did test them out and see how well they jigged, and I bet they could be definitely effective under the ice. Any spoon can be effective jigging it under the ice for fish ice fishing. So Throw that in there. And lastly, these spoons, I forget what these are called. Super Duper. I don't want. These aren't Super Dupers. Are the ones that are shaped like a U. I'm not going to use that. The Super Dupers ice fishing. I forget what these things are called. But these are a pretty unique looking spoon. They got that slender profile. Got this bigger one for like walleye or something. Again, anything gold is a great color for walleye. And this little tiny silver one, you know, silver is a great color for any fish actually. I mean, pretty much all bait fish or have a silver flash to them. These are great jigging spoons. I forget what they're called. It's called a slow rolling something. I don't remember, but came out of my open water fishing tackle box, and so we're gonna throw them in with my ice fishing lures. And there you have it. There is my ice fishing tackle, minus one last thing. As I told you, one of my biggest
Ice fishing secrets I will now reveal. So, alright, I'm going to turn the camera off, get some water, take a breather before I tell you about my #1 favorite ice fishing lure. I don't think too many people know that you can use this lure under the ice or nearly how effective this lure is under the ice, but believe me, you're not going to want to miss my favorite ice fishing lure. The secret, you're not going to want to miss the secret ice fishing bait. We'll call it that. Okay, so in my hands is the secret ice fishing bait. I'm kind of conflicted even sharing this information with you guys because it's not too often that you discover a bait or a way of fishing a bait that's extremely effective that not many other people know about. Like, I find it hard to believe I'm the first person to take this lure and throw it under the ice and see what happens. I'm positive other people have done it. But I've never seen any discussion about this lure on Ice Shanty, YouTube, or anywhere else in the context of ice fishing. So, without further ado, here is my biggest ice fishing secret that I know of that I can share with you guys. I've caught more fish on what's in this little Plano box here in the last couple of years ice fishing than I have any other bait. It's affordable, and this bait is just phenomenal. Above the ice, but under the ice especially.
Here we go. You can see we have the trout magnet. I have caught so many fish on these things the last 2 ice seasons, and one trout magnet, literally one jig. One of these things will last the entire season. These things are surprisingly durable. You mainly lose them open water fishing by getting them snagged up. You know, floating them for trout. Under the ice, you don't get them snagged up ever, and really the only way you lose these things is when you break off on a fish, if you don't tie your knot tight enough or something. But I mean, these things will the fish just hit these things all with no action. You don't even need to move them. You just let them sit there.
Just let them sit there under the ice, just under a bobber, or just on your you don't even need to move it. You can put these things on tip-ups and just let them sit there,
and the fish will come by and eat them. I mean, these things are just phenomenal. And up into this season, all I've used is the color white. They actually come in these little. They came in this package here. This year I went ahead and bought a kit. All I had up until this point were the white ones, and I've been sort of reluctant to switch to anything else, but I did go ahead and buy a kit this year. In case you don't know the way it works, fishing these things for trout, like stock trout and stuff, just gobble these things up. They love them. Open water fishing people use them under floats and stuff. And you just use one color till the fish stop hitting it, then you switch to a different color. And so that's why I wanted to get one of these kits this year. Of course, the package that came in broke, and I got them in this Plano box now. But I'm curious if that same thing will happen under the ice. I'd say a solid 50% of the time, these things outfish live bait on one of those jigs that I showed you. Even the spoon, even all those spoons that I showed you. You know, the spoons might be a little bit better for drawing fish in, because the spoons and the jig and Rapala and the lipless crankbaits and things, I think have more drawing power. But when the fish are there eating, I'm telling you, these things are the way to go. These things in live bait, most of the time, at 50% of the time or more, I'd say these things outfish live bait. And like I said, up until this point, I've only used the color white, but this year we're going to be trying all these different colors and seeing how these other colors work. Panfish, crappie, trout, bass, you name it. They just gobble these things up under the ice. I can't believe they're not advertised as an ice fishing lure. I do not know why Trout Magnet hasn't advertised these things as an ice fishing lure. More and more people are starting to catch on to them and use them for panfish in the open water. But I'm telling you, man, these things are just deadly under the ice. They are definitely my biggest ice fishing secret that I just went ahead and shared with you guys. So pretty easy to rig. In case you don't know anything about trout magnets, they've sort of taken the trout fishing world by storm these last couple of years, but they haven't really taken over the ice fishing world by storm yet, but I honestly have a feeling they're going to. You just stick them on one of these jig heads. Actually, I'll do it in front of this camera.
And boom, good to go. Guys ready to fish. You can... I usually, every once in a great while, I'll just let them go just off the bottom on the ice and just give them a pop every once in a while. But like I said, you can just let them sit there. And if you're ever chasing a tip-up or something and you have one of these things on your jigging pole, make sure you reel your pole in. Because, like I said, a big bluegill, the perch, big trout, they'll eat these things and take your pole right in while you're out chasing flags. The fish are incredibly aggressive with these things, even with no action, even if you don't move them. The fish are aggressive towards trout magnets under the ice. So there's my big fish ice fishing secret. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you learned something. I know I'm not the best at making these tackle showcase how-to type videos. I'm trying to get better at it. When I'm fishing, I'm not awkward talking to the camera because I'm not thinking about what I'm saying. When I make these types of videos, I feel like I think too hard, and I don't always speak as clearly as I do in my fishing videos. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully I will be ice fishing this week. I can't guarantee it. It's been cold enough, but we've had so much snow here in Western New York. It's crazy the amount of snow that we've had already this winter. Every single day we get like another foot of snow. So that's really going to be killing the ice making. Even though it's been cold enough for the ice, the snow insulates it. So we'll see. I'm going to go out and take a drive out this week and check some lakes. Hopefully get on the ice. If not, hopefully find some open water. We'll see. But anyway, thanks for watching. At the very least, I can say ice fishing videos coming soon. Certainly by January, we will be on the ice, hopefully. And thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next fishing adventure.